Dobrý den. Kolik jste? No pojďte, zavoláme policii.
Hello, my name is Yannick, and I'm the honest guide based here in Prague, Czech Republic. And we just filmed this scam that is not specific for Prague only, but happens globally, mainly in the capital cities of Europe. This is how it goes. So you're walking on the street of a big city and somebody approaches you with this piece of paper that says National Association for Children with Disabilities and Deaf. He will himself pretend he's deaf and mute and will ask you for your signature and for a donation. Well, guess what? This whole thing is a scam. If you give these people some money, they will not go to handicapped children or people with disabilities. They will go straight into their pocket. And also, it's fair to say that they're not deaf or mute. Once we pull out our camera on them, they start to talk, and the things they tell us ain't nice.
Dobrý den.
Dobrý, tři máme, hezky pěkně, hej! Ty vole. You little scumbag. Get out of here. If we see you, if we see you again, Klidu, můžeme se jenom podívat na ty desky?
No, understand.
Já si myslím, že my... Okay,
Central.
Bahnhof, it's that way.
Yeah.
I will take you there, it's okay, but
Yes.
you pretend to be deaf.
No, deaf.
You pretend, that says right there.
Oh,
Look, it says right there, look, it says right there.
you are crazy?
I'm not crazy, I have the same thing, look.
What?
Look at that. See? Your friends just gave it to me.
My friend, this one?
Yeah, your friend.
My friend?
Yeah, your friend.
No, film me.
No, we're gonna film you.
No.
We're gonna film
What
you.
to film
We're
me?
gonna film you.
I take this
No,
one.
it's okay, it's
You
okay.
like your dress?
It's okay.
You the motherfucker.
I'm not a motherfucker. Can you give us the paper? We don't want you to scam more people.
Hey, what do you want?
I want that paper.
Nine.
I just want that paper. Vy tady nemůžete obcházet lidi a předstírat, že jste hluchoněmý a vybírat na charitu.
So go honeymoon.
Nemůžete. Hluchoněmý? To jste vy předstíráte, že jste hluchoněmý.
To look me this one?
Ano, vy to máte v kapse teď.
Nine.
Ježko, vy zraky, když jsme vás natočili.
Hello, to look at me running. Hello.
A najednou jste se rozpovídal, před chvilkou jste dělal hluchoněmýho.
Hello, to look at me.
Hele, nešajte na tu kameru.
For what you touch me? What do you want?
The paper.
For what?
The paper.
I don't give nothing.
Then we call the cops.
Call the cops.
Okay.
No problem. Stop me.
I will not stalk you. We're going to the
Stop
cops.
me.
You will, Oh, you're gonna hurt me?
This little girl is about to become a real kooky spook. Here's her secret. Kooky spook makeup. On goes the front white, then scary black around the eyes, and yucky yellow for the mouth. While she's fixing a ghostly sheet, her kooky spook makeup dries and cracks, so she looks 1,000 years old. Kooky spook makeup just washes off in water. You get 3 frightening colors and directions too. Great ghostly fun from Krona Toys.
Then I run out?
I know. I'll come in and pick you up. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Well, here I am again, making a love tape. I made one once before, and it's a really strange experience, and it's fun. And I selected this backdrop. I'm at the World Trade Center, and I'm working on this project with Wendy Clark. And the reason I love the project so much is because I think it gives people an opportunity to talk to people without going through authorities or governments. And this is what I hope will happen with this project. And this music that we're playing is music that Wendy's mother sent us on tape last summer. And every morning when we were playing, we had one of those overhead electric fans and plants around, and the windows were open and the sunlight was coming in. And we were applying for grant money for this project from NEA and the Rockefeller Foundation and the Guggenheim. And Wendy and I would put this tape on, and it would just make everything flow, and everything feels so good. And we really have big ideas for this project. I know on one level it might seem silly for people to talk about love, but love is something that everybody shares with everyone else. And I was reading this man who's big in communications, Colin Cherry, and he was saying it was actually more important for people to have something in common that they could share than it was for them to even know the same language. In other words, people can communicate better when they have something they can share than just having the same language. Like a teenager might not think she has anything in common with a 98-year-old woman speaking English, but a teenager in America might have more in common with a teenager in Russia because they both are experiencing the same things. So my hopes for Love Tapes is that it will be a vehicle for people to stop and freeze a moment out of their lives and to sort of make a little self-portrait. And so we can all begin to understand each other. Yesterday, some of the kids who were working on this project chose this backdrop, which at first I thought was sort of strange, and they chose this really funky new wave music, which I don't know much about. But when I saw these kids and what they had to say with their tapes and their music, it was beautiful. And I could understand them a little bit more. I could understand the music a little bit more. And that's what I think these tapes are really, I think they have a great value. I think there are a lot of depths to them, and I hope that people appreciate this and feel it. And I love working on this project. And I love people, and I love love, and there's so many things that I didn't say. And the tape is over, and here comes Michael. So, goodbye, world. I'm going to be turned off in a minute. I'm going to get everything I wanted to say in at the last minute. I love I love love. Turn me off. That was fun. Goodbye. I'm faded out and Michael's counting and I'm in the booth. I want to get out of this kitchen.
(1988). The crime rate in the United States rises 400%. 1991. The United States Police Force is formed. 1997. New York City is a walled maximum security prison. John Carpenter's Escape from New York. Kurt Russell. Lee Van Cleef. Ernest Borgnine. Donald Pleasance. Isaac Hayes. Susan Hughley. Harry Dean Stanton as Brain, and Adrienne Barbeau as Maggie. John Carpenter's Escape from New York, the ultimate adventure of escape and survival.
My mother, she was a seamstress 25 years at one of the last remaining union shops, which was Levi's on Valencia Street. So I remember growing up as a kid, you know, playing in front of that Levi's plant. Now it's the Friends School, very expensive elite school for progressive-minded people. And but actually, you know, it was that used to house a lot of immigrant women, you know, Chinese, Russian, Italian, Latino. My mother used to tell me, you know, my mother and my father to this day don't really speak that well English, but they were able to hang, you know, they were able to be here for now more than, you know, close to 40 years without, you know, just on Spanish alone. And my mom would just tell me that her big communication tools at Levi's was her nose and pointing, you know, shoulder shrugs, because she would have, you know, her neighbors, you know, as they're sewing the pockets, they used to just do pieces there and sew the pockets or sew the little red tags on that piece, and that would get sent somewhere else. And, you know, her neighbors would be a Russian immigrant, Chinese immigrant, and they would share lunches together, and they would just point, shoulder shrugs, nods. But that's what she did for 25 years. And I wore Levi's every day of my life because of it. I feel a lot of my activism, my consciousness has come from that, you know, that working class sensibility. You know, for my parents are both union members, but they weren't active. They weren't active, you know. At times I remember my dad would just grumble, be like, I can't believe I pay every month for this. But, you know, I look at it now and you know, he sees it too, that, I mean, staying at a job for 35 years is becoming, you know, rarer and rarer, you know, and through that and through my mother's hard work, you know, 25 years at the plant, that they're able to buy a home. You know, they're able to support me, support my family to this day, support my family in many different ways. You know, my brothers and my sisters, and you know, and other family members and friends. But you know, I remember my mom used to have a little shop downstairs, those makeshift little changing room in our basement, because you know, she would get access to some of the irregular Levi's clothes, or you know, the color didn't come out right, or the pocket might be backwards, or it didn't have the red tab on it. But we'd take those home and she would sell them, and we would be the go-to store for day laborers. And man, they would just line up, they'd come over and buy their 501s, their work shirts, you know, and she would make a little changing room downstairs. But that was her hustle, you know, and that was, you know, that was her money that she then, you know, would use to, you know, help my brothers, my sisters, you know, cousins, nieces, nephews, and also support her family back home in El Salvador. You know, with that, she was able to buy a home in her town, Thana, which, you know, I got to this day, you know, we have family that live there and take care of the place.
This is the plaza of the Seagram Building in New York, late morning. With a time-lapse camera, we were testing a hypothesis. The sun, we were pretty sure, would be the chief factor in determining where people would sit or not sit. And now, just after noon, they begin to sit. Right where the sun is. I was enormously pleased, but a perfectly splendid correlation. It was quite misleading, as we were to see later, but it was a very encouraging way to start. Our research group, the Street Life Project, was set up to observe how people use the streets and spaces of the city. Our study was supported by foundation grants and continued for almost 10 years. Eventually, our findings were to lead to a new open space zoning code for the city of New York, and this prompted a number of other cities to adopt similar guidelines. But at the time, we were mainly interested in watching people, how they use spaces, different kinds of spaces. One was a block of 101st Street in East Harlem. We didn't know it at the time, but almost every factor that later we were to find was important for a city space we could have found out here. The clues were right under our noses.
Not that I don't love my son, Mr. Riley, I do. But I've never been able to understand an otherwise normal boy who lives entirely in his own head.
Jamie, what are you doing in here? I was just watching you sleep.
And we had an incident here with some old lady in the community. Seeing him swinging in the trees out back with nothing on except some Superman cape or something.
He'll grow up. Surely, my dear, but into what? One of those hippies.
No, he's not crazy.
How old is your boyfriend?
He's not normal. He's distressing.
I think I'm gonna tell her about the things. The secret? Careful, Jamie, careful. I know where there's a huge hole in the ground. Big hole in the ground? And at the bottom of the hole, down in the dark, there's some things. We know some awfully nasty people, don't we?
My name is Lowell Myers. I'm a lawyer for that deaf boy, Donald Lang. I need some information about him.
The police got it all.
Yeah, but they're not sharing it with me. I'm on the other team. I need some information.
Look, mister, you don't belong in here. Why don't you get going?
Brother, you don't have to go nowhere. What's the matter with you? Trying to run away our choice customers? This is my main man. And to show how friendly he is, he's gonna buy us all a drink. Won't you find out what everybody's drinking so a man he can take care of it? You know, just ask what everybody's drinking, and,
I'm trying to do something here for someone you might know. It's a good thing to do, and I would appreciate it if you would let me do it.
All right, brother. All right.
Thank you. Was Donald a regular in here?
Sure. He came in almost every Friday night.
Were you here the night of Ernestine's murder?
Sure. Hey, baby, how you doing?
Did he ever make any trouble?
Come on. How could he? He couldn't argue with nobody. He'd just hang around and A couple of drunks would talk to him for hours, and all he could do was nod and smile at him.
When he would leave he leave alone or with one of the women?
I don't want to talk about no women. You know, the police could close me down for letting him work the bar.
Come on, you know I'm not the police.
Sure. He went out with the women. I think that's what he came in here for.
Did he ever have any trouble with any of these women?
Not that I know of. He gave him the money, and they gave him what he wanted.
No struggles, no beatings, nothing like that?
Nothing.
Do you think he killed Ernestine Williams?
Why should he? He got what he wanted, didn't he?
Then who might have killed her?
Maybe somebody wanted money. I wouldn't know.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now you see it, now you don't. Here you have it, here you won't. Oh, Diet Pepsi, one small calorie. Now you see it, now you don't. That great Pepsi taste. Diet Pepsi won't go to your waist. So now you see it, now you don't. Oh, Diet Pepsi, one small calorie. Now you see it, now you don't.
미국 서지오 바렌테와 기술 제휴 패션 진 서지오 바렌테.
디자인이 돋보인다. 패션 감각이 빛난다.
패션 진 서지오 바렌테.
진과 패션을 따로 말할 수 없다.
개성으로 입는 패션 진 3도 물산.
Mama.
So beautiful with all these things. Christmas decoration and shit. Beauty. Saskia, you want a soda?
What?
You want a soda?
No, I'm okay.
You want a soda?
No.
Go, girl. You think that lady will do it? In the store by... No, fuck that place. Listen, we're shooting a movie in New York, right? Yeah, it's gonna be in Spanish. Yeah, we'll star Rosie Perez. And this guy, you know Ben's Brat? Yeah, he's on Law and Order.
Oh man, I can remember when you were looking for Virgil. Someone just told me one night where you all night discourses.
But those were great times.
Yeah, but it's a whole different game. Yeah, it wasn't shot by, it wasn't shot. You know what I'm saying? That didn't matter for the 70 fucking, you know what I mean? It's not.
dead, yes, well.
Yeah. What makes the whole thing is, I don't want to, when I did Panavision for, when I did scope on, body snatchers. You know what I mean? I had to reinvent my whole language, you know what I mean? I don't feel like doing that. I know how to shoot film. So I don't want to start shooting visual, I don't want to start shooting video, you know what I mean? I know how to shoot film, so whether we shoot 16 millimeter. Yeah, but the point is, I don't want, then I gotta, in other words, if somebody wears a red shirt, I know what that's gonna mean. I know what this means, and what that means, and what the back means. Now all of a sudden it's like, oh, let's see what that looks like, you know what I mean? And I don't have the, you know what I mean? I don't wanna, this isn't the place that I wanna be experimenting on. You dig? So what are you saying? Would you put your money on Tony or on Ozzy?
Ladies diapers, flashing glasses you can wear. Ladies diapers, blinking lights in every pair. Ladies diapers, you can give your friends a show. Ladies diapers, you can flash someone you know. Ladies diapers, you can flash someone you know. Electric zany zappers, you can flash those. Electric
Zany Zappers electric flashing glasses, new from Krona Toys.
No ducks. Is this south?
No, stupid. This is New York City.
New York City? It's not south. It's cold. It's not supposed to be cold. Oh, I must have made a wrong turn someplace.
Hey, Mac, are you a pigeon?
No, I'm a duck.
Good. I don't like pigeons. Come on in.
Is it warm in there?
Warmer than the street. First visit to the big city?
Yeah, first visit.
I'll give you a sightseeing tour of New York if you like. Hop aboard. My name is Rex.
Pleased to meet you. I'm Howard.
Directly overhead is Radio City Music Hall. You know, a song and dance joint. Lots of girls, lots of music. Lots of people went on to be stars from performing right here.
Oh. Where are we now?
Under the Empire State Building, world's third tallest building. You know, my mother took me here when I was just a little tadpole. Of course, then it was the tallest building in the world, and people were really impressed.
Rex?
This is the Museum of Modern Art. Nice, huh?
Yeah, Rex.
Got a lot of crazy pictures and stuff in here. You know, you got your Van Gogh and your Renoir, and then there's Picasso.
Thanks for the tour, Rex.
Hey, my pleasure, Howard. Come back again and I'll show you the World Trade Center.
Gee, I can hardly wait.
Ooh, pigeons. Hey, take care of yourself, Howard.
When you look back and you were kind of starting, what was one of the first things you scored as far as
Wow. I think the first thing that I scored was had to have been Abel's first films. The first three, the very first one was called 9 Lives, Driller Killer was second, and Ms. 45 was third. And I had been introduced to Abel Ferrara it had to be, I don't know, like 73 or 70, maybe 75.
Oh, wow, that long
and I was
ago.
starting to work in the studio. So, you know, I was still operating like I wanted to be a studio musician, right? And an arranger, you know, so I was making, you know, a certain amount of disco records and stuff uptown, and I was now introduced to Abel, who had come through Rockland County and was a friend of my brother, Frank. But he was now in the city and becoming a presence there and was making films. And it was really, I think, the introduction to Abel Ferrara that took me into the realm of film writing. You know, I had no experience at all with it. I had nothing, had no knowledge of it at all. But I was starting to write, so I had a little bit of a handle on some orchestration and some composition knowledge. I think
when you were starting, what was one of the things that I'm curious, because like you said, you had no experience doing it. What was one of the first things you learned about it that surprised you when you were filming, when you were doing a score for a film?
I think it was and it's very obvious, to look at the picture and try and disseminate what the emotional feel. You know, try to get a handle on what is trying to be said emotionally, and then connecting with that.
How far into the process of the film do you get to kind of start that?
You know, we started talking about that earlier, about how long it takes to do things and what the process is. And I think that different from director to director, of course. I mean, Abel and I, because we've been doing this for so long, we have our own process, and it is not necessarily linear. It's not necessarily logical or the way it's normally done, and probably isn't. But it really works for us. In other words, it's not the traditional way of a composer working with a film is that the film is shot and it goes into the editing room and they get a rough cut, and then when it's a little better than a rough cut, they start saying, well, what about a composer? Mm-hmm. And when it's getting towards the final cut, they send it out to the composer, and then the composer goes in and he meets with the director and all the producers, and they sit there with a clipboard and they do what they call a spotting session, and they say, well, on such and such a time and place, we're going to put the cue in here, it's going to start here, it's going to end there. That is a typical way of scoring a film, and I've done many films that were done that way, and it's a very kind of linear way of doing it. I think with Abel, it's so organic that, and music is so integral to the film itself. It's not just there. It's not just there to enhance it. It's really part of the makeup of the film.
It's vital to the whole.
It's really vital, and I think music is vital to film. I think that it really depends, Harry. It depends on the project and the film. If I've done a lot of television documentary work, and that stuff is almost always done the way I described it, with spotting session, and they say, boom, 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 boom. This is where it's going. Write these cues, and then you come up with it. Siberia, which we were talking about earlier, which was not the last film that I did with Abel, but
how many have you done with him?
The next to last film. That
quite a few. How many have you done with Abel Ferrara?
Oh God, man, I haven't counted up. It's probably maybe 10 or 15 films. It's been a large part of the body of work, I think.
He was part of the reason, actually, you came out to Montauk, if I'm not mistaken. When did you meet him, and what kind of drew you guys together as friends and to be able to be collaborators?
I think it was, Abel is, I think that he's a very good songwriter and singer. And I think it was part of his DNA to be a musician, to be a working musician. And I think he ended up directing films. I think he had such a calling for being a director that he ended up primarily as a director and secondarily as a musician, right? So I think that we probably connected on that fact that, you know, he was in bands when he was a kid like I was, you know, so I was probably, you know, he probably looked at me like, you know, like one of the brothers, you know,
as a
like
peer, yeah.
And the same with me. So we connected I think we connected right away. It took a while before I got to know him because he was now like this kind of downtown guy, and I was like sort of this I was trying to be this button-down studio musician, and I would go down to the loft on 18th Street, and it was like all these wild people and this crazy artistic scene. But Abel taught me how to do it. You know, you were asking about the process. We would, you know, the earlier films were actually more like the process I described where the film was cut and I was coming in.
Yeah.
Ms. 45, which was the third film, that was really pretty much in a final cut. And it was like, okay, we need cues here. And we wrote some really, really nice music for that. It's been a wonderful journey with Abel Ferrara and a learning experience all the way down the line.
You're a fly named Yar on a quest in space. You attack the shield of the Kotile space. But watch out, Yar.
He knows where you are. Yar's revenge is
Are you on Atari?
Have you played Atari today?
With ion zones and evil drones, there's nothing else like Yar's Revenge, the way out space game that's new from Atari. Who else?
Have you played Atari today?
見ろ、逆輸を着てる。こいつだ。こいつが政府の徴兵官だ。やっちまえ。死ね。
北な白駅待ってたよ。北もこの望み通り乗ってやったのさ。
死んでいた朝に弔いの雪が降るはぐれ犬の遠声下駄の音きしむ因果な重さ見つめて歩く闇を抱きしめる蛇の目の傘ひとつ命の道を行く女涙はとに捨てました
義四郎は生きている。
先のうちに
待て待ってくれ。逃がしはしない。義四郎は必ず俺が。聞いてくれ。もう一つあんたに言っておかなくはならんことがある。義四郎は塚本義四郎は
よーく見てごらん私の顔をお前たちがなぶり者にしたその女にどこか似ていると思わないか
My name is Neil.
Darknesses.
Only
Psychograph.
Neil.
Psychologic.
Because my name
Psychological
is Neil.
moment.
It is that way.
Psychologize. Psychology.
It is method for remembering.
Psychometric. Psychoneurotic. Psychodrama. Psychoobserver. Psychophysics. Psychosomatic. Psychopath. Psychopath.
Psychoanalyst, 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 psychoanalytic, psychoanalytical, psychoanalytic, psychobiology, psychobiology, psychogenesis, psychogenetic, psychothorium, radiothermic, radiopsychiatric, psychiatry, psychoanalysis, psychoanalytic, psychoanalytical, psychobiology, psychodrama, psychoanalyst, psychoanalytic, psychoanalytical, psychoanalytical, psychoanalytic, psychobiology, psychobiology, psychogenesis, psychogenetic, psychogenetic, psychophysics, radiothermic, 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 radiotelegraphy, radiopsychiatric, psychiatry, psychoanalysis, psychoanalysis, psychoanalytical, psychobiology, psychodrama, psychoanalyst, psychoanalytic, psychoanalytic, psychoanalytical, psychoanalytic, psychobiology, psychobiology, psychogenesis, psychogenetic, psychogenetic, psychophysics, radiothermic, radiothermic, radiothermic,
You really feel the music with the Sony Walkman.
The Sony Walkman is a tiny stereo cassette player with truly incredible sound.
You really feel the music. You really feel it. You really feel the music.
Put on a Walkman and see the world in a whole new light.
Sony Walkman.
The Walkman from Sony, the one and only.
soul is filled with joy serene. For every passing cloud and song of birds, faith homage dear to you is queen. Now my grandest dreams have known their proving, and heaven holds no charm for me. My only hope is living always to love you through eternity. As long as the world goes on here, as long as the world goes on, there's enough for me but to live for thee. Just as long as the world goes
My name is Marilyn Enderby, and I'm an aesthetic realism consultant with There Are Wives. What I'd like to say about love, I learned essentially from Eli Siegel and aesthetic realism. Aesthetic realism says that you cannot love a person unless you want to love the world that person represents. Most people feel they don't like the world so much, so they'll find a person, and that person will be nice to them, and then they'll like the world. However, aesthetic realism says that doesn't work. And one of the things that we've seen at the Aesthetic Realism Foundation, where people study, is that one can like the world if the person wants to look and see it aesthetically. By aesthetically, I mean as a oneness of opposites. A husband can treat a wife can be a brute, say, but he can also be very sweet. He can be very tender. So how can a wife make sense of the fact that her husband has the opposites of hardness and softness? It's awfully confusing, unless you see that a husband is trying to put those opposites together because he represents the world. In the world itself, there are many instances of hardness and softness that a woman can look for every day. A tailored suit that she might be wearing is a oneness of hardness and softness. Or even a marshmallow in her cocoa. So aesthetic realism says that you have to like reality in order to like a person. This is revolutionary because people don't think they have to think about the world when they're interested in a person. Unless you want to think about the world, love will go wrong. I'd also like to say that there has been a press boycott of aesthetic realism for over 37 years. The press has refused to let the American people know that aesthetic realism exists and that Eli Siegel, its founder, was an honest person. He had goodwill. It's a tragedy that people don't know of the study of aesthetic realism and can't have it in their living rooms or in their newspaper. And I'd like to say that this press boycott, I hope, will end very soon so that love will really be possible. One of the things that hurts love the most is contempt. And I'd like to say more about that, but it seems I can't. All right, now we'll play it back, right? Do I take this off?